Imagine sitting in a classroom eagerly waiting for your teacher to hand back the graded test to all students. Finally, it's your turn. You glance back at your test sheet and there it is, a big disappointing E grade staring back at you. You are shocked because you genuinely believed you had done very well on the exam. Your mind races to find all reasons for this unexpected outcome. Maybe the questions were insanely difficult. The teacher's explanation wasn't clear, or perhaps the teacher intentionally marked you down. You might even blame the warm temperature in the classroom, or come up with a bunch of other excuses, anything to avoid putting the blame on yourself. Now, think about a scenario where you score an impressive A grade on your test. This time, you'd likely take credit for your achievement. You'll pat yourself on the back for putting in the hard work, understanding the material, and being adept at grasping educational concepts. It's all about the effort you put in and your abilities, suggesting that your success is due to what's within you. These explanations point to internal factors for the outcome. Sure, there could be other reasons for your A, like the exam being straightforward, or you just happen to study exactly what the teacher asked. But if you chalk it up to those external factors, it takes away from the personal satisfaction and confidence boost you get from attributing it to your own actions. This situation really highlights something we all experience: the self-serving bias. The self-serving bias is when we tend to give ourselves a pat on the back for our successes, but when things don't go our way, we quickly point our fingers at outside factors to avoid taking the blame. Back in the 1960s, a smart psychologist from Austria named Fritz Heider did some research that revealed this fascinating aspect of human behavior. He found that when things are unclear or ambiguous, we are more likely to explain them in a way that makes us feel good about ourselves. This behavior he observed, where we attribute things in a way that boosts our self-esteem, got named the self-serving bias. Let's circle back to the example I shared earlier. When it comes to poor grades, it's a common tendency for teachers to point their fingers at students, even if their own teaching methods were lacking. On the flip side, many students will shift the blame to the teachers for their low grades, even if they didn't put in the effort throughout the entire year. Now, when a student scores exceptionally well, you often see them giving themselves a high five for their achievements. Meanwhile, teachers or school authorities might proudly declare that their top-notch teaching facilities are the reason behind the stellar scores. This behavior, where both teachers and students lean towards taking credit when things go well, is a classic example of the self-serving bias in action. It is that little psychological twist that makes us see ourselves in a more positive light when things turn out good. Now, let's dive into a more common tendency. Why do we often point fingers at external factors when things don't go our way? Usually, it's a way to protect yourself. We all have this inner edge to feel good about ourselves, so it's natural to want to link ourselves to positive situations and avoid being blamed for anything that goes wrong, especially if you've had a tough upbringing. It can be really challenging to own up to things and admit when you've done something wrong, especially when you're already struggling with feeling insecure. So anytime you sense that your self-worth is under threat, you may be prone to fall back on this bias. Also, it's human nature to attribute our successes to our own abilities, but we shift the blame to outside circumstances when we fail. This way, we shield ourselves from facing meaningful critique. This self-serving bias distorts our view of ourselves and our world, all to bolster our self-worth. As social beings, we naturally crave recognition from others, and their opinions heavily influence our self-esteem. To safeguard and boost our self-esteem, we actually present positive versions of ourselves to those around us. It's all part of our ongoing effort to continually enhance and protect our self-worth. Here are 3 things that drive our tendency to take credit. 1. Unclear causes and effects. Sometimes, it's hard to pinpoint if your success is due to your skills or just by chance. Believing it's your own intelligence can motivate you to keep pushing. 2. When things go wrong. If you've hurt someone or made a mistake, the guilt can damage how you see yourself. Taking the blame for a loss is tougher than sharing credit for a win. 3. You played an active role. It's easier to say someone started a conflict, but when you've played a part, convincing yourself and others that you are not to blame can require some mental gymnastics. Now, let me share a relatable story that highlights how the innocent seeming self-serving bias can actually cause more harm than good in the long run. Meet John. John is a top dog, a senior manager at his company. He is the guy who is responsible for reporting the results of a project to the big shots on the board of directors. But here's the catch. Things didn't go as planned with the project. It hit a few bumps on the way. So when he's asked to explain why things didn't pan out so well, he points a finger at his team members. "It's not my fault, they just didn't play their parts very well," he says. What John leaves out of his story is his own role in this whole deal. You see, as a senior manager, it's part of John's job to keep an eye on the whole operation, to make sure his team members are actively playing their role in making the project a success. But instead of stepping up and owning his share of the outcome, he's passing the blame onto others. Why? Because he doesn't want to dent his own image in front of those board of directors. His self-esteem and image are at stake here. But here's what's surprising. In his quest to protect his self-esteem, John is actually heading straight for the very problem he's trying to dodge. John here might lose his job or get demoted because he's rather painting a negative picture of his capabilities and competence. It's a sad truth, but it's one that he doesn't see coming because of the self-serving bias at work. The self-serving bias can actually harm the trust people put in us, their judgment of our skills, and even limit our personal growth. It's like putting a cap on our ability to learn from our slip-ups. When you are not willing to admit your mistakes, there's a good chance you end up making them again. What's worse, you miss out on valuable feedback that could genuinely help you get better. So now, how can we keep ourselves in check to make sure we are not falling prey to the self-serving bias? The first step to making changes in how you act is to recognize that none of us are perfect. It's important to understand that there is a real value in facing setbacks and taking responsibility for what you do. Mistakes and failures are a natural part of life. They usually come when you are pushing yourself beyond what feels comfortable or familiar. Even though it sounds like a cliche, there's wisdom in those old sayings. Failing is actually a powerful way to learn and evolve. Taking ownership of your actions is a sign of maturity, something that earns you respect from others. Also, don't forget to acknowledge the contributions of others. This not only helps you improve how you behave, but it also lets others shine, and it helps you build stronger bonds in your personal relationships. When you help others get the recognition they deserve, it can give a boost to your own self-esteem and ultimately make you feel better about who you are. If you enjoyed watching this video, like and subscribe and share it to someone who will find it useful.